Hello, this is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your spine. Without further ado, let's begin. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. In a quiet town in Singapore, nestled between dense woods and whispering hills, there existed an old mansion that most of the townsfolk avoided. The Bukit Ho Swee estate, a grand yet decaying relic of the past, was notorious for its haunted reputation. Long abandoned, it held secrets that twisted the minds of those who dared to venture too close. One fateful evening, the Lim family moved into the estate, blissfully unaware of its dark history. Roger, a hopeful father and ambitious architect, saw the old mansion as a project to be renewed. His wife, Tina, a kind-hearted artist, saw beauty in its cracked walls and overgrown gardens. Their two children, Jerica and Artie, were excited by the prospect of new adventures in a home that looked like it was pulled from the pages of a storybook. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows against the mansion's crumbling facade, a chilling presence began to stir. Amidst the dust and cobwebs, an ancient spirit that had been locked away for centuries began to awaken. It was a demon of unimaginable malice that had taken the form of a sleek, black cat with eyes like molten gold. The creature was known as Uray, a harbinger of chaos and sorrow that thrived on the energy of fear and despair. At first, the family noticed nothing amiss. They explored the creaking halls and hidden alcoves, delighting in their new surroundings. But as days passed, shadows deepened, and the night grew long. Strange occurrences began unraveling the fabric of their blissful life. Objects shifted from their places, unsettling sounds echoed through the halls, and an unshakable feeling of being watched enveloped them like a shroud. It wasn't long before Jerica discovered Uray curled on the windowsill, basking in the moonlight, its mesmerizing eyes shimmering with a predatory glint. Enchanted by its beauty, she reached out to stroke its fur, feeling the coldness of it beneath her fingers. The cat seemed to melt into her touch, purring lowly, almost hypnotically. But in those delicate moments, the spirit of the demon stirred within, sensing an opportunity to feed. As the days passed, Uray took refuge within the family's life, often finding its way to Jerica, who felt an unexplainable bond with the creature. Tina appreciated the charm of the unusual pet, while Roger merely saw it as another project to manage. But the cat was cunning, and it thrived on the fear that began to seep into the household. The once spirited laughter of the Lim family turned to whispers of unease. Strange visions plagued their dreams, images of the cat leading them down dark, twisted paths. Roger became obsessed with restoring the mansion, pouring more time and money into the property. The strain of the renovation mixed with the creeping dread of the house began to take its toll on him. One night, during a thunderstorm that rattled their windows, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, echoing through the estate like a death knell. Artie, the youngest, had stumbled upon Uray in the attic, where shadows danced against the walls, creating grotesque shapes. The cat arched its back, eyes glowing fiercely, and lunged at him. In a flash of fur and claws, darkness consumed the child that had once been full of life and wonder. The family awoke to the sickening silence that followed. Panic gripped Tina as she searched for her son, but what she found in the attic shattered her soul. Artie lay lifeless, with a look of sheer terror etched onto his face. The claw marks that marred his skin were deep and angry, a dark omen of the evil that had taken root in their home. Roger, broken and enraged, confronted Uray, realizing that the cat was a manifestation of the demon that sought to destroy them. But the creature was astute, anticipating his every move. It vanished into the shadows, taunting him with its haunting presence, while the estate twisted and warped around them, reflecting the chaos within. The mansion was alive, a labyrinth of nightmares trapping the limbs within its walls. As the days wore on, Roger lost his grip on reality, torn between fury and despair. One by one, the family succumbed to the horrors of Ouray. Tina met her end in the cold embrace of the basement, where she thought she could hide. The cat found her easily, its eyes glimmering like maleficent stars. Jerica, driven mad by grief, saw visions of her brother constantly, leading her deeper into the woods, believing she could save him. But the woods swallowed her whole. In the hushed quiet that followed, Ouray thrived. The Bukit Ho Swee estate was its kingdom, draped in blood and sorrow. Its dark laughter echoed through the halls, resonating with the memories of a family torn apart, leaving only whispers in the darkness, a warning to the next innocent soul who dared to cross its threshold. As the seasons changed, the mansion stood still, a monument to despair, cloaked in shadow. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones of the Lim family, and the legend of Ouray, the demon cat that carried the spirit of destruction, faded into myth. Yet, every time the wind howled through the town, the echoes of a family lost would remind those who heard it, some homes are better left abandoned. On to the next story. Once, in a quiet town in Myanmar where whispers traveled with the wind, lived a girl named Pamela. She was known for her kindness, often bringing home stray animals and nursing them back to health. Her heart was as open as the blue sky above her, which was perhaps why she didn't hesitate when she found the crow. The crow perched upon the twisted branch of a gnarled tree in the woods behind her home, its feathers as black as midnight. Pamela was drawn to it, enchanted by its intense gaze. She approached slowly, offering scraps from her pocket. To her surprise, the crow hopped down, snatching the morsels without fear, its beady eyes glistening with a strange intelligence. "Can I take you home?" she asked. She didn't expect an answer, but the crow tilted its head, considering her question. It seemed to understand. With a flutter of its wings, the bird landed on her shoulder, as if sealing their bond. Pamela named it Sandar, and the two quickly became inseparable. At first, Sandar seemed like a magical creature, repeating the few words Pamela taught it and mimicking her laughter with croaks that sent shivers down her spine. But as days turned into weeks, the atmosphere around them darkened. Pamela noticed her dreams shifting from vibrant, colorful adventures to cold voids where shadows danced. Each night, she woke in a cold sweat, the feeling of being watched gnawing at her. And yet, her bond with Sandar deepened. The crow began to exhibit peculiar behaviors, often staring into the distance as if beckoning unseen entities. One fateful evening, Pamela followed Sandar down into the woods. The crow flew deeper and deeper until they reached an ancient stone circle, draped in moss and shimmering with an eerie glow. It seemed as though time had forgotten this place, silence hanging thick in the air. Pamela's heart raced, both from exhilaration and foreboding. "Stay here, Sandar," she warned, though the crow had already perched atop a crumbling stone, its ravenous eyes sparkling, with a hunger she could not yet understand. With a flick of its wings, Sandar summoned dark clouds that rolled in with unnatural speed, blocking the sun. Pamela felt a chill crawl down her spine, shaking her resolve. The shadows twisted like fingers reaching for her, and in that moment, she heard a whisper, a voice, ancient and haunting.
"Come, my child.
It beckoned, pulling at Pamela's very essence.
Surrender to the night."
In a heartbeat, Pamela felt her heart race, blood humming in her veins. Sandar cawed, the sound echoing around her, enveloping her in a shroud of despair. She stumbled back, feeling a pull from the crow. It was not just a pet anymore, but something much darker, an entity that yearned for her soul. Pamela's instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs refused to obey. She felt her consciousness slipping away, drawn in by those all-consuming black eyes. Sandar hopped closer, its beak shining like a dagger in the dim light. Panic gripped her. This was no ordinary bond. This was a covenant steeped in shadows. "Sandar, please," Pamela cried, but her voice was lost in the burgeoning storm. The gusts turned violent, ripping leaves from branches and scattering them like lost hopes. The cawing grew louder, morphing into a cacophony that demanded her attention. In a flash, Pamela realized that Sandar had taken much more than her affection. It craved her very soul. Stories whispered among town elders of crows that could steal the essence of the living, binding them in eternal darkness, suddenly flooded her mind. Desperation surged through her. Summoning every ounce of strength, she turned on her heel and began to run, branches clawing at her as she dashed through the trees. But the shadows followed, relentless and hungry. Sandar's cries echoed in her ears, filling her heart with dread. Just as she reached the edge of the woods, with her home in sight, Pamela felt a tug at her core, like a thread unraveling. She could feel her spirit being pulled back, torn between the warmth of the light and the chilling grip of the darkness. With one final push, she broke free, collapsing onto her front porch. Gasping for breath, she looked back at the woods, where shadows entwined and roared in the stormy dusk. The cawing had ceased. Sandar remained near the stone circle, silhouetted against the darkening sky, waiting patiently. Days passed, and despite her escape, Pamela felt the weight of a darkness growing within her. She couldn't look at crows the same way. The whisper of their wings sent her heart racing. Nightmares plagued her, each one laced with the sensation of those haunting eyes watching from the shadows. In time, Pamela learned to mask her fear. But as the years turned, every moment she spent in the daylight diminished the flicker of her spirit. She was left a shell, a note on a forgotten shelf. Sandar never returned. But on some nights, if one listened closely, distant caws carried by the wind echoes of a girl who loved too deeply and the crow who loved too darkly, forever entwined between the worlds of night and day. And those who wandered too close to the woods would sometimes disappear, their laughter absorbed into the silence, leaving behind only the echo of a chilling caw. I hope you enjoyed our spooky stories. Join us next time for more spooky stories. Take care and boo-bye.